Yeah, man, whatever you want to call it. By the way, the Fertittas made the UFC 100%. Dana did a great job of getting in where he could fit in and riding whatever wave they gave him. Congrats. He's got money and fame, but don't mistake that for intellect and happiness. The Fertittas have directly said that no one could have done for the UFC what Dana did. I don't understand this. I just don't understand it, man. Why would anyone say something like this when the Fertittas themselves give Dana a ton of credit for where the UFC got to, and so does everyone else who's been involved in the organization? It's a weird take. All right, so we get to talk about Dana White in this video because Dana is getting hammered. People are furious that Dana said that he doesn't like to talk about his feelings. Are you serious, Dana? You don't want to talk about your feelings? Tell me about when you're sad. Tell me about when you're stressed. I want to know how talking about your feelings has helped you. He's all, I don't do that. You're all, that's unacceptable. You have to talk about your feelings. Otherwise, you are not a man in 2024. Anyway, so I'll show you guys some utterly ridiculous takes that people had about what Dana said, and I'll make fun of them. And then we're going to talk about something Mike Perry said, because he's talking about what his next fight is going to be, where it's going to be, and the implication that gives us, indication that I was right about the BKFC and Conor deal, because bottom line, I was right. If what Mike Perry is saying is true, which why would it not be true, then I was right all along. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I'm going to tell you, because that BKFC deal that Conor is involved in is a way bigger deal than we realized. And we're going to go from there. Now, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you can. If your feelings are hurt that Dana said that you should not talk about, or that he doesn't like talking about his feelings, then guess what? You should subscribe to this channel, because my feelings are deeply hurt as well. Not really. Not really. So if your feelings weren't hurt, then you should subscribe, because my feelings weren't hurt. You know? Whatever. Just subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I really appreciate it. Like the video as well. Let's jump into it. Here's what Dana said, and let's talk about it.
First.
I don't want to ever fucking talk about my feelings with another fucking dude. But
you don't mean that. That's too far. I mean,
no, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. It drives my wife fucking crazy. No, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I'm one of those fucking old school guys. You know, when you talk about men's mental health and that men have to carry this burden and yeah, that's what we fucking do. Guess what? Somebody's got to get up. I have a family, right? I have children. I got to get up every day and go to fucking work, and I have to, do what I have to do. And no, I don't. I mean, I'm give a shit about my feelings. You see these guys these days on fucking social media, like, hey, fucking, you know what I'm saying? Just talking about their bad day and this happened and I'm fucking,
right.
And shut the fuck up.
Oh, I know.
Get up. Get the fucking work and do what you got to do and be a fucking man.
Yeah. So, geez, hey, Jesse, what do you think about that? Gee, I wonder. I wonder what I feel about that. Now, here's what I want to say. I don't think that Dana's saying that you never talk about how you feel. That's not what he's saying. I talk about how I feel all the time. Dude, I was at the game. This guy said this. I was mortified, like I tell the story about how Ronaldo Moicano is coming out of the cage at UFC 300. I'm in the front row, and I kind of fight my way over to the side so I could try to high-five my buddy. He doesn't see me, and I just made everybody move, and I'm like, it was just fucking embarrassing. I was mortified. I didn't get up for the rest of the fight. I'm not going to make these guys get out of my way again so I can go try to high-five a dude who doesn't even see me, and I look like some fucking buster lying about being friends with a fighter. I'm not doing it. That's talking about my feelings, right? That's talking about my feelings. That's a vulnerability. I was embarrassed, okay? I was fucking embarrassed. Talking about feelings. That's not what Dana's talking about. You think Dana would never tell a story about something like that where he's like, dude, I got up and I'm embarrassed. He's talking about this pussy shit. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about talking to your, oh my God, I've just been so sad lately. And you know what? I just don't know if I could do it anymore. I don't know if I can do it anymore. Who does that help? Okay, what he's saying is you have a job to do. You have responsibilities that you have to complete. And if you, I'll actually do a better job of explaining what he meant, I think, than he would, which is this. Get your shit done, okay? If talking about something is not going to help you get shit done, then what's the purpose of talking about it? You know what I mean? It's like ultimately your number one responsibility is taking care of your family. providing for your family, or if you run an organization providing, safety and security for the people who have chosen to work for you, people who are dedicating their lives to working for you, that's your job. And so things that, act as big vulnerabilities to you because you feel this way or that way, and it's going to not help you complete what you're responsible for, then what the fuck's the point? Why would you want to talk about that? Why would you want to make yourself vulnerable for no reason? Okay? That's what he's saying. And I agree with him 100%. And the other thing, I'm married to the right fucking girl because I don't like talking about that shit either. And you want to know a good thing about that is Gabrielle wouldn't want to hear it either. Okay? She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to talk about that shit herself. She does not want to talk about that shit herself. She doesn't like it. I don't like it. Neither of us likes therapy. Listen, people know enough about my life, if you've been watching my channel long enough to know that I've gone through some serious hardships. And I'll give you an example from the absolute worst time of my life where if I was going to talk about my feelings, this would have been the time to do it, is when I sold my company. Well, from when I was building my company, went from a multimillionaire to bankrupt over about the time, in stages over about 18 months, to the point where I ended up unemployed, lost my company, lost my income, lost all of the money that I made selling my company, bankruptcy, no idea how I was going to make any money, and I had moved to another state. I didn't know anyone. I had no opportunity to do anything. I had 2 kids and a pregnant wife. My wife did not work. And then we had a kid. I was still unemployed, didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. Okay. No one has ever been more depressed than I was then. Okay. Well, that's probably not true, but I was very depressed. Very depressed. Here's about the amount of time that I spent talking about it with Gabrielle. I would wake up in the morning, I'm like, Jesus, I legit, I feel like I have a fucking elephant on my chest. It's like I feel like I have this weight on my chest, I can't breathe. I would say that because it was true. But that was about the amount of time that I would spend talking about it. And then I would try to go figure out what I was going to do. I actually tried going to therapy. I've tried talk therapy at least 6 times just throughout my life. It does not work for me. It does not work. It does not work. Does not work. Doesn't work. I've gone in there. I've talked to them. I'm kind of like, and I go out. I'm like, what? I don't understand. What the fuck do people get out of this? What do people get out of this? Someone tells you, listen, man, it's not your fault. Cool. Well, I still don't have a fucking job. I still lost my company. I still have to figure out what I'm going to do. How does that help? How the fuck does that shit help? I don't understand it. I've never understood it. But look, if there are people where it does help for them, then fucking then they should do it. That's the point. Is my take on this is if talk therapy works for you and is going to make you a better person, is going to make you better at what you do, then do it. Okay? Then absolutely go do talk therapy. Go do whatever. Whatever's going to make you happy and more likely to complete the things that you're, responsible for. But if you're like Dana and you're like me and that shit does not help, you judging Dana or judging me because I don't want to talk about my feelings is just as stupid as me judging you because you go to therapy and you're like, no, I get a lot out of it. And I'm like, you're a pussy. Okay, well, that's dumb. That shit's dumb. I'm not judging you. Do whatever the fuck you want. But don't judge me or judge Dana because we don't get anything out of talk therapy. It's fucking stupid. It's a stupid position to take. Everybody should just do whatever the fuck they want. Crybabying to the whole world, though. Okay, no one's going to convince me that people getting on social media and complaining about their life is going to be a net positive for them or for anybody else. Now, Gran Maynard goes off on Dana. I'm going to cover that shortly, but here's something that I want to tell you guys before I do. Okay, so I went to UFC 300. Me, Gabrielle, my friend, and her husband he's like a chief revenue officer for a software company. He's a complete and total badass. Rugby player, D1, might have even played national team, whatever. He's a fucking savage, dude. So I found out from him that in Silicon Valley now, they have this thing where people can go to HR, and this happens all the time, he said on his team, all the time. The people go to HR and they say they need a mental health break, okay? They go to the company, they're like, I need a mental health break. They don't even have to qualify it. They're all, my mental health is in whatever. And they're taking paid time off up to 8 months. 8 months of paid time off for mental health breaks, okay? And he can't backfill that. He can't backfill that role. And people go, oh, poor. He's making so much money. He makes a lot more money than most people. That's true. But you want to know why he makes all that money? It's because he's responsible for increasing revenue from this to this every single year. You want to know how he does that? Is he builds a very large, competent team, and each person plays a role on said team. And when someone on the team goes, I need some time off, I'm just going to go sit at home and I'm going to take the company's money and not do my job because I need mental health time, and they go home and they take the time off and they don't do their job, everyone else has to work harder to backfill their thing, and he can't fire them. He literally cannot fire them. He cannot backfill the role. Now, he was telling me this because I took a job so I was fired from my software organization in September of 2022 for not getting the jab, okay? I sacrificed my job, which I was making a lot of money doing, because I wouldn't take the shot. So I did nothing but content for 14 months. And then at the end of 2023, around October, I got offered the same type of role, a lot of money, dude. A lot of money. And I was doing nothing but content. I was like, and I said to Gabrielle, I'm like, dude, can I justify not taking this job when my life is, I wake up at 8:30, I take a sauna, I go do a video, then I go to jiu-jitsu at noon, I come back, I relax, I do another video in the afternoon. Can I really justify not taking this job? So I took the job, okay? And then within a couple weeks, I realized, I was like, oh, I have, the way that I've interpreted my life doing content is not at all how it is. That's what I just described is not my actual life. I'm actually working that whole time. I just thought that that's what I was doing. And so I'm not going to be able to put in the type of effort that I used to. In the 14 months between when I lost my job and when we're talking about now, my content, output has gone up immensely. I can't drop that off. I'm not going to sacrifice this. So I can either put in half effort, be a mid-tier person as an account executive for this software organization, and kind of, just do enough to justify my job, or I can resign, give up $300,000+ a year, and not feel like I'm stealing the money from this organization. And I did that because you want to know why? Because the guy who was the chief revenue officer at that company is someone who called me specifically, and he's a friend of mine who I had worked for before. And I knew that I was going to feel guilty like I was stealing the money from him or stealing the money from the organization when they could put someone in that role that was going to put 100% effort in. I knew I wasn't going to do that. So I quit. And I told that to and that's what prompted that conversation, because he obviously respected that decision, because I could have just basically conned my way into that money. But I'm like, I don't feel comfortable taking that money because it's like, I feel like it's theft. Okay. I feel like that's stealing if I can't put 100% effort in. So I quit. I walked away from that money. Never looked back, never thought I never regretted that even a little bit. So these are principles that I live by. So these people that go in there, they're like, I need a mental health break. And then they go sit at their fucking house and they take, they're not going to make that much because they're not going to be hitting their quota, but they'll get their salary, take $150,000 a year to sit at home for 8 fucking months doing nothing. It's bullshit. It's pussy shit. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And now let's get into some people's takes on Twitter because, of course, X, because these are amazing. And this person said, and talking about mental health with your wives, they are right to get you to do so. You are wrong for talking about suppressing it. Oh, really? Hey, excellent point with zero, that's it? Just you're wrong? I'm all, hey, you're stupid. They're all, why? I'm like, I don't have to qualify that. So this dude said, I don't believe Dana White has evolved enough to have the capacity to have suffering mental health. It'd be like a depressed grasshopper or an anxious moss. Oh, wow. That's funny, dude. 52 views. That was a week ago. Big reach on this guy. This person says Dana White's comments about mental health are short-sighted, but it's short-sighted because are extreme. Some people are most certainly too soft, but at the same time, not talking about your feelings will not make them go away. They will come back in a more vicious. Okay, depends on what your feelings are. If your feelings are related to not feeling like you have a lot of self-worth, then what you should do is go make yourself valuable, and then you will feel like you have more self-worth. I'll give you a perfect example, a recent one. George Janko says he was in a terrible place when he was working for Logan, and then an even worse place when he was fired from the show. But now he is fully evolved. He has found a new reason for life, and he's the strongest version of himself. Hey, George, do you think that's because you have your own show now and you're making much more money and no one can take it from you? You built it yourself and you're not relying on anyone? You think that maybe that has something to do with it? Yeah, that probably does. Okay. Bingo. Okay. Pretty easy to get up for work and not be depressed when you're Dana White. Average Joes who could barely make rent, work shit jobs. Yeah, that's who have mental health problems, not billionaires who rip people off. So I think the point Dana was making was if you're going to complain about being depressed and it's not going to help you when you have to go to work anyway and you have to do those things anyway, what's the point? I think was his point, right? This is great. What an absolute moronic, outdated, and toxic mentality. You know it's possible to work your ass off, take care of your family, and take care of your mental health, right? It's statements and mentalities like this that kept a stigma on mental health for centuries. I think what Dana White said was about himself, and he said complaining on social media was for crybabies. I don't think I heard Dana say anything about people who use therapy to help themselves are pussies. I don't think I heard him say that. I think he said that he doesn't like to do it, and he said that complaining on social media, just shut the fuck up and go get shit done. I think that's what he said. So let's continue. I don't think that. Let's go. He said Western medicine is not yet based on a comprehensive, coherent model of health. It is materialistic, reductionist, not holistic, so cannot see the whole person, therefore still poor at promoting health, especially mental health. This is correct. This is actually just correct. Impressive. Impressive take, mental health guy. And I don't even know if that was in relation to Bill Maher, whatever. So I don't even, okay, so how is Dana White relevant to mental health or politics? Hey, I don't know. Some guys kicked Dana White in the head, causing head trauma. Now he is projecting it to everybody else, including his daughter in the UFC. Mean the story of his life. Dana White is bad for mental health. He is subconsciously trying to heal that way at the expense of others. How come none of these guys speak English? Like this is X. Like you get to type it out. Do you not proofread before you post? I don't understand, dude. I don't understand. So what's this one? Oh, yeah. Hey, let's look at this, dude. Colorado Springs shooter, non-binary. Denver shooter, identified as trans. Ardeen shooter, trans. Nashville shooter, trans. Philadelphia shooter, trans. So they're all crazy, I think was the point that he was making. So let me actually go back to the original video, though, because Gran Maynard was really upset about this, and I'm actually not going to make fun of him. I'm just going to point out that his comments didn't relate to what Dana said.
Be a man.
I tell you.
Just be a man.
Maynard says this guy's middle name is Feelings.
Okay, so Gran Maynard said this guy's middle name is Feelings. Anger, compulsive gambling, caught on film, hitting his wife, Twitter rants, interview rants. His life is feelings and emotions. I can't believe people buy this shit. Just because you have money doesn't mean you have emotional intelligence or you're a tough guy. Okay, well, first of all, I mean, Dana is objectively a pretty tough guy. But, you know, I'm not saying that he would beat you in a fight necessarily, but what I'm saying is like, in this regard, he is a tough guy. Nonetheless, this was not Dana's point. He's not saying, hey, you should never get angry. You should never say that you're angry. I'm a perfect person that would never compulsively gamble. You know, that's not what he's saying. He's saying people that complain publicly or complain to their wife rather than just getting the shit that they need to do done makes no sense and they're pussies. Would you disagree with that, Gran Maynard? Do you think that complaining to your wife about things that need to get done that you're not getting done helps you get things done? I don't think it does. I don't think you would think that they do either. He's not just saying like any feelings are bad to have. That is definitely not what he's saying. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to another story. Now let's talk Mike Perry giving away the game, dude. So Mike Perry has given it away and he doesn't even realize it. So let's watch what he said about coming back to the UFC and I'll tell you what this tells us because it's big.
Mike Perry hints at a massive return to the UFC. In a recent interview with RJ Clifford on MMA Today, Perry discussed what's next after his recent TKO win over Thiago Alves and revealed some interesting information regarding a potential return to the octagon. According to Perry, his manager is currently working to get a one-fight deal with the quote-unquote Mecca, of course, referring to the UFC.
Can you give us any hints on what's being worked on? Opponents or venue or sport?
Man, you know what? We're in talks with a couple people, and we're working on
Dude, I don't know what that thing is that's on his head, but it's awesome and it works for him for sure.
You know, depending on how it goes, we could possibly get a one-fight deal with the Mecca. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, you just got to use your brain. We all know who the Mecca is. Mecca is the numero uno. So
anyway, so he's talking about UFC, and then he says he doesn't know how much more he can say, and that's it, right? So I won't make you sit through it because we're just going to make a real quick point here, which is the following. What did I say when I said, what did I say when Conor McGregor got announced as a new owner at BKFC? What did I say? I said that TKO, UFC, Dana White, they are behind this deal. This is how they negotiated Conor's new deal with the UFC. They wanted to invest in BKFC. They invested in BKFC. They made part of Conor's deal with them for the UFC deal, ownership in BKFC, which is what Conor wants. Conor's always wanted ownership in one of the fight organizations. UFC's already taken off. Anyone could buy ownership in TKO. I own ownership in TKO. Okay? So that's what I said. BKFC is obviously where Mike Perry is signed. So what did Dana say about John Jones and Francis Ngannou fighting in UFC? He laughed at that idea. It was a joke to him. He's like, are you serious? And what did I say? I'm like, why on earth would they let Francis come fight in UFC? He can come in and beat one of their guys and then devalue UFC while building value in a competitive organization. Of course they're not going to do that. So what does it tell you? If BKFC's main guy, the biggest star they have by 100 miles, is talking about coming back to UFC, if that conversation is happening, what does that tell you? It tells you that TKO owns BKFC, obviously. If that conversation is even happening, then for sure I was right. And that TKO is behind this Conor McGregor deal, or they did it together, or whatever. TKO or Endeavor, or whatever, is in this BKFC deal for sure. I'll tell you this right now. Unless Mike Perry's making this up, right? I mean, who knows? But if Mike Perry fights in the UFC, that's a done conversation, and I was right for 100% sure. And if you think that that's an aggressive call, then you don't understand this business. If he fights in UFC while still signed to BKFC, for 100% sure, TKO has money in BKFC, for sure. And I think that's a for sure anyway, because there's no way they would have let Conor do it without them following him in, because it's not that much money for them to invest over there. It's just not that much money for them to invest and get a significant portion of ownership in BKFC. And not to mention, Conor McGregor apparently has a significant portion of equity. That's what Dave Feldman just said. He said he has a big needle-moving amount of equity in this company, which is exciting for him. It's exciting for Conor. It's exciting for TKO. Who can push the needle better than Conor? Okay, nobody. Conor is going to ultimately be a Dana White type character with Dave Feldman at BKFC. That's what's going to happen. Okay, Conor's smart enough to know he's not going to be fighting in 8 years. What's he want to be doing in 8 years? He wants to be doing that. Okay, period. And you know who else wants to be doing that? Me. Put me on that team, Dave Feldman. Put me on that team, Conor McGregor. I want in. Do I seem like a guy who doesn't have good ideas? Do I seem like a guy who doesn't understand business? I sniffed this fucking deal out, didn't I? Anybody else sniff this out? Who else sniffed this out? Nobody. Now go watch my video on George Janko and Logan Paul from yesterday and see how I sniffed out how their deal was structured also, just from a single sheet showing the amount that George Janko was paid month to month, and I sniffed out exactly how his deal was structured, okay? I know fucking business. And I have a pretty big platform and growing. I want in. I fucking want in, dude. Anyway, that's what I got. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, tell your friends. Bye-bye.